Hey folks, it's Kendo RANT time. Let's do this. Okay, as I cannot train Kendo more than twice a week, and a senpai forbids training at home at this stage, I am Sankyu. I was wondering whether there are some exercises that I can do at my local gym to support my Kendo. For example, would lunges help my Fumikomi? Right, there's been a couple of questions about this, about what kind of training you can do, as well as kind of, at the gym and stuff to help your Kendo and stuff. I've seen a lot about it at the moment. Obviously, I'm no expert on it, so I'm really hesitant to give too much advice on it. What I found worked well for me was stuff that improved my core strength and obviously cardio stuff. And I think... yeah, stuff like lunges, anything that's going to work on your legs, your lower body, that's where you need the most strength in Kendo, certainly more than your upper body. It's not that you don't need upper body strength, but you definitely need lower body strength, so yeah. And this second one is from the same person. As a female Kendo guy, I've never experienced any bad attitudes from male senpai or sensei. To me, it seems that in the dojo, we are each on our own path, and there's nothing to do with being male or female or non-binary or trans or anything else. But recently, someone told me that this is very different in many countries, including Japan. Could you share your thoughts and experience as a sensei and as a student on the ways in which gender equality, understood as the access of women to fully participate and to be recognised as equals, Fraser 2007-2013, I don't know what that is, but I guess that's some sort of study or something, is negotiated and challenged in Kendo? Okay, I don't think there's a lot of gender inequality in the Kendo places that I've personally experienced. I don't know, it's hard for me to say. Obviously I'm a man, so I have a different sort of view than probably a lot of women that do Kendo have. But even sort of in Japan, Japan has got a very different sort of society in terms of gender roles than sort of Western societies tend to these days. Probably a lot of Western societies might look at Japan's society in terms of gender roles as somewhat old-fashioned or something like that. It's not really for me to call a judgment on that, to be honest. But in terms of Kendo, which is what you're asking about, I used to teach at clubs where there was both males and females practicing. And from being little children, up to, adults as well. And there was no, I don't think there was any sort of reason why women couldn't fully participate or recognised as equals in the same way as the men or the girls and the boys. That certainly wasn't the case at all. Of course, there's certain events, like certain tournaments that are split, especially after primary school. Primary school, it tends to all be mixed, like the boys and girls do shiai together as well. They don't even separate the genders for... the boys and girls, when I was teaching the kids, like primary school, there's no separation between them at all. They just, the gender's not even it's just not even an aspect of what anyone talks about or considers about anything, because they enter the same shiai. They're generally not separated by gender. Once they get into junior high school or high school, then they do have the boys division and the girls division of tournaments. And sometimes their Kendo booths are even practicing separate, which of course it doesn't mean that they're kind of discriminated or anything like that. It's just that they do shiai against other girls, so they tend to practice with each other. And there's a sort of logical argument for that. So I haven't seen anything that would be sort of, I'd certainly consider sort of discrimination towards either gender inside the dojo in any of the countries that I've practiced in. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. I'm sure it does in any country really. So but in terms of on the whole, it isn't something that I've experienced. Excuse me. Next one. Hi, sorry to bother you. I have a question that I think you're the best to answer. Well, we'll see. I was wondering if you've ever experienced pressure about your position. Since I've been selected for my country, like in the national team, I feel a lot of pressure about performing properly and insecurity about my own ability to beat other people in the same, I'm trying to edit out the person's country, but it is a European country. Okay, so other people at the European level, so like at the European Championships, the other players. I don't know if this question is worth Kendo Rant or not, but especially when I lose against people I'm not supposed to lose to, I'd like to know if you've experienced something similar, if you have any clue on how to deal with it. Okay, so what you're talking about is you've been selected to represent your national team, as far as what I understand. Excuse me, I'm still getting over a cold, as you probably tell. And you're kind of having a bit of what's like imposter syndrome. So kind of feel like, I'm feeling the pressure. I'm not sure if I can compete with the other people on the European stage. I'm losing Shiai to people that I shouldn't lose to if I'm the national representative. Look, I can't speak for everybody, but I certainly went through this as well. When I first started competing for the national team, and I was going to the European Championships, and I was like, oh, I can't compete with these people. They're all so much better than me. But I was looking at people that were much more experienced and they'd been participating in that level of tournament for years already, and they were more comfortable with competing in that level of tournament, which is something that happens with experience. So yeah, it's normal. Don't worry, okay? And you will lose matches that you're not supposed to lose or that you shouldn't technically lose. That happens to everybody. All right, that happens to everybody. But yeah, you'll be fine. All right, just keep doing your best, and I'm sure you'll grow into the role. Okay, next one. This is a really long question, so I'm going to kind of summarize it. But basically, what you're talking about is that you're over in Canada, and you started Kendo later in life and practiced with a small dojo. You got your Shodan, but you had to stop Kendo because of a bad injury in your left arm, which meant that you couldn't grip with your left hand, and it made everything seem weak. And you also had previous injuries. But you still really wanted to practice Kendo, and you saw at a grading that somebody was practicing Nito, namely Sei Nito. So after some research and discussions with your sensei, you were told that you were able to do it. Okay, so you're 5 months back in, and you're doing Nito now because of your injury. And although you've got a steep learning curve, taking it one keiko at a time. Fantastic. All right, so the question is, you've got the good fortune to be visiting Osaka with your family in 2 weeks. You don't want to pass up the chance to practice Kendo in Japan, so you want to take your Boga and your Shinai, but you're nervous about playing there because you don't speak Japanese, and you're doing Nito, even though it's because of an injury. The latter worries me in that they might think me as a pretentious Nito fanboy from Kendo nowhere, and I want to enjoy as much keiko as I can, but I also want to represent a dojo well. As someone who's practiced a lot of Kendo in Japan, what advice can you give a near middle-aged Kendo foreigner from Canada playing Nito at Shodan level for keiko a while in Osaka? Look, I don't think you need to worry about it as much as you are. Just go and do it. I'm sure that the people will be welcoming to you, and especially if you're going to need some help communicating though, so you're going to need some help with somebody that can translate. But if you're able to communicate that you've got an injury and that's why that you're practicing Nito, nobody's going to think that you're just doing it to be different. But to be honest, even if you are, you're not really going to get a massive negative reaction. It's just not like that in my experience. People don't look down on you like that. They let you do your own thing. Now, if you were coming to them and saying, look, I want to enter the World Championships, I want to be the best player in the world, and I want to do this, and I want to achieve membership in my national team, and I want to become the champion of my country, and I want to win the World Championships. And by the way, I also want to have a crack at Nito. Then somebody's going to say to you, well, look, those two things might not add up together with your current sort of situation. But that isn't the case here. What you're saying is that you're in love with Kendo, which is great. It's impossible for you to practice regularly with Chudan because of your injuries, but practicing with Nito allows you to practice Kendo, and that's the most important thing. And nobody's gonna hold that against you or judge you for it. So I definitely think you take your Borgo over there, and just do it. Just do it. You know, Kendo's not about judging others. You know, it just isn't. So it's wrong to kind of be like, oh, what's this guy doing, having a go at Nito? Like, who does he think he is? You're not going to get that. It doesn't exist. It's same as like people with different coloured door. This is something that happens in the West. Like, people judge people for having like different coloured door. Oh, you shouldn't have a flashy door because that makes you look obnoxious. Nobody in Japan ever thinks that. Nobody does. It's like, you know, oh, you're only Shodan. You shouldn't have a hand-stitched Borgo. Rubbish. You can have whatever Borgo you want. It's your money. Nobody's going to judge you for it. And they're wrong to if they do. Right. Next one. I imagine that you've experienced many different Kendo communities throughout your training and teaching. Yeah, I'd say I have. Sorry, I'm really struggling with my cold now. It's kind of flaring up because I've been talking. Anyway, when it comes to non-child beginners in their first 3 months or so of practice, have you encountered a lot of variety in how their teaching is approached? Or is instruction of brand new Kendoka pretty consistent across different Kendo ecosystems? Well, look, I haven't got that much experience in different places where they teach beginners. Generally, most places tend to teach them in the same sort of way. Starting with Ashitabaki, then let them hold the Shinai, basic Suburi, stuff like that. Now, there aren't many adult beginners in Japan, all right? And that's where I've done the majority of my Kendo up to now, is over in Japan. So there just aren't that many adult beginners. There's hardly any, actually. And what ends up happening is the teachers don't really know what to do with adult beginners, so they end up trying to teach them the same way that they teach kids, and it doesn't go so well. But everywhere else I've seen it, yeah, it's pretty much the same stuff. Start with Ashitabaki, then you move on to basic movements with the Shinai, basic Suburi, and yeah, you know, adding on the basics one at a time. I have seen a few like more innovative ways of teaching, but they're still very like experimental, and it's yet to be seen if they're gonna have much merit, but I'm certainly keeping a close eye on that, and I'll certainly be bringing you updates on it as soon as I know more. Next, I was wondering what someone can do with their old Borgo that cannot be used for training anymore. Are they repairable? Is it worth repairing it? And which parts have you thought recycling old Borgo and giving a discount? Okay, so there's a few things there. It depends on what state the old Borgo is in. And what kind of Borgo it is as to whether it's worth repairing or not. Obviously, it is possible to repair it, but these days, I think you can pick up new Borgo reasonably, good quality stuff from KendoStar.com for excellent prices. So it depends on what kind of Borgo you've got. You know, if you've got a really expensive hand-stitched Borgo, then yeah, it's worth putting time, effort, and investment into having it repaired. But if it's like a cheap Borgo in the first place, then maybe it's kind of more economical to just replace the parts. In terms of, have I thought about recycling all Borgos to give a discount? I haven't, because there's no practical way in which I can do that. The only way I'd be able to do that is to somehow be able to recycle those parts myself, in a way that I could then, be able to have some sort of financial room to give a discount, but that there just isn't, it's not like I could just sell them again or something like that, and you can't use the parts again, so it's not really a super practical thing at the minute. Hi Andy, I realised that you were saying about your degote in your younger years, that you were paid in which, but not a good degote. Could you please elaborate on the difference between a good strike and a strike that would be paid in which, but not considered good? Well, I think when you say paid, you mean like awarded, as a point. I've been trying to explain this concept to several of my kohai. However, you definitely know how to explain it more effectively. Okay, so what you're saying is, yeah, I did mention a while ago that when I was younger, I was fast enough to kind of just, and I had a good enough sense of timing to guess that my opponent was probably going to attack men and hit a degote. It wasn't great form or anything, but it was a good timing and a good hit. And it was kind of lucky, for want of a better word. I just threw the degote and maybe 50-60% of the time it hit and I got a point. That's not a good degote in my book because it isn't something that I was in control of. It was just luck. I kind of tossed a coin and I happened to win the bet. That, for me, yeah, it's great at the time in the Shiai, and sometimes that happens, and that's totally cool. You know, that at the end of the day, the goal of the Shiai is to win the Shiai, but at the same time, the ideal waza, the waza I'm aiming for, is something where I have managed to have an effect on my opponent that's made them react in the way that I want them to, so that I can select the waza that I want to do, and then they've sort of played into that, and I've been able to execute the waza how I wanted to execute it. And that's the difference between... So if we're talking about degote, instead of, oh, he's coming from him, pang, kote, and I've been quicker and I managed to hit him, you know, maybe I was a lot younger than the person, or more just, you know, whatever, just more experienced or something. But what would have been better would have been to apply semi, made them feel under pressure, made them feel like they want to attack my men, done something, applied semi in a way that invites that men and instigated their men attack, and I'm already halfway on my way to that degote by the time they've passed the point of no return for their men attack. It's quite a deep concept, but that's what I'm really aiming for, and that's the best kind of kendo for me. And that's what I was really talking about in that. Okay, last one. This one's from the Kendo Show Early Access group. There's a link in the description. It's free to join. If you're not in the group, why not? I say this every video, and I don't, you know, come on, get in the group. It's free. It's a great place to post the questions because there's loads of people in the group, and you get not just my answers, but you get answers from all over the world. So definitely join that. How come so many kendo accessories are decorated with dragonflies? I'm not complaining. I absolutely love dragonflies. Okay, so I did actually answer this a little bit on there, and there's loads of answers on there. It's great. Okay, so tombo or dragonflies are... they've been a symbol of kind of samurai and warriors in Japan for centuries now. And essentially the kind of blanket explanation is that comes from the belief that dragonflies don't fly backwards, they only fly sort of forwards. Lots of people pointed out on there that that's not scientifically true, which it probably isn't. Well, it obviously isn't. But that's not the point. That's kind of that's the impression, or that's probably what the people that decided that at the time thought, that they don't fly backwards. But that's only one of the reasons. And someone else elaborated and said, well, I wasn't just saying that they don't fly backwards. I was saying how effective they are at what they do and effective at hunting they are. And that's a really great point as well, because that's something else that the samurai or the warriors of old actually recognized, and that's another reason that they considered them like a really excellent symbol of the perfect warrior. There's a story of an emperor of years of old that was out hunting, and apparently this is where it was kind of coined, the idea. This emperor was bitten by a horsefly, but at the point at which he was bitten, a dragonfly swooped in and caught the horsefly and took it away. And this kind of ability of it was kind of then seen as an omen or a symbol of victory. So it was given another name, not just tombo, which is the usual name for dragonflies in Japanese, but they also coined this name kachimushi, which means like the victory bug or victory insect. So that came from there, and their ability to catch prey mid-air, mid-flight, stuff like that. I'm no biologist, right? So I don't know that much. So I'm just going off what I read. Their ability to sort of catch prey mid-air was recognized by them as well. So much so that they also carved tombo insignia into the arrows that they would use, so that they would hit the target in the same way that a tombo is able to home in and hit the target that it's after. So that's where it comes from, and that tradition has kind of carried through to the kendo equipment of today. There's a lot of stuff like that in kendo, actually. That's why we wear indigo dye, because the samurai of old used to wear it because it was thought to be kind of antiseptic and what have you, because they weren't able to, bathe themselves much. So it's supposed to be deodorant and stuff, and kind of help heal wounds and stuff like that, the traditional indigo. And that's why we still use it today. The reason the mengane is painted red on the inside comes from the old samurai masks, the mempo that would be painted red on the inside, so that red glow reflected onto the face and made them look angry and scary. So there's a lot of stuff like that that's kind of comes from Japanese history and is still alive today in the kendo equipment. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Got through quite a lot of questions there. Don't forget to do all your shopping at KendoStar.com. That's the website that I run that sells kendo equipment. It's the best kendo equipment in the world, in my opinion. So get over there, KendoStar.com. It's really, really great stuff. It's all designed specifically for the international kendo community. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all of that nice stuff. Join the Kendo Show Early Access group, all the usual stuff that I say in every video. And I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching.